Savitri, Book 7, The Book of Yoga, Canto 7, The Cosmic Spirit and Cosmic Consciousness, page 553, fifth line. Something unknown, unreached, inscrutable, sent down the messages of its bodiless light, cast lightning flashes of a thought, not ours, crossing the immobile silence of our mind. In its might of irresponsible sovereignty, it seized on speech to give those flamings shape, made beat the heart of wisdom in a word, and spoke immortal things through mortal lips, or, listening to the sages of the woods, in question and in answer, broke from her high strange revealings impossible to men, something or someone secret and remote, took hold of her body for his mystic use. Her mouth was seized to channel ineffable truths, knowledge unthinkable found an utterance. Astonished by a new enlightenment, invaded by a streak of the Absolute, they marveled at her, for she seemed to know what they had only glimpsed at times afar. These thoughts were formed not in her listening brain. Her vacant heart was like a stringless harp, impassive. The body claimed not its own voice, but let the luminous greatness through it pass. A dual power at being's occult poles still acted, nameless and invisible. Her divine emptiness was their instrument. Inconscient nature dealt with the world it had made, and using still the body's instruments, slipped through the conscious void she had become. The superconscient mystery through that void missioned its word to touch the thoughts of men. As yet this great impersonal speech was rare, but now the unmoving wide spiritual space in which her mind survived tranquil and bare, admitted a traveler from the cosmic breadths. A thought came through, draped as an outer voice. It called not for the witness of the mind, it spoke not to the hushed receiving heart. It came direct to the pure perception seat, and only center now of consciousness, if center could be where all seemed only space. No more shut in by body's walls and gates, her being a circle without circumference, already now surpassed all cosmic bounds, and more spread into infinity. This being was its own unbounded world, a world without form or feature or circumstance. It had no ground, no wall, no roof of thought, yet saw itself and looked on all around in a silence motionless and illimitable. There was no person there, no centered mind, no seat of feeling on which beat events or objects brought and shaped reactions, stress. There was no motion in this inner world. All was a still and even infinity. In her, the unseen, the unknown waited his hour. But now she sat by, sleeping Satyavan, awake within, and the enormous night surrounded her with the unknowable's vast. A voice began to speak from her own heart that was not hers, yet mastered thought and sense. As it spoke, all changed within her and without. All was, all lived. She felt all being one. The world of unreality ceased to be. There was no more a universe built by mind, convicted as a structure or a sign. A spirit, a being saw created things and cast itself into unnumbered forms and was what it saw and made. All now became an evidence of one stupendous truth, a truth in which negation had no place, a being and a living consciousness, a stark and absolute reality. There, the unreal could not find a place. The sense of unreality was slain. There, all was conscious, made of the infinite. All had a substance of eternity. Yet this was the same indecipherable. It seemed to cast from it universe like a dream, vanishing forever into an original void. But this was no more some vague ubiquitous point, or a cipher of vastness in unreal naught. It was the same, but now no more seemed far to the living clasp of her recovered soul. It was herself, it was the self of all, it was the reality of existing things, it was the consciousness of all that lived and felt and saw. It was timelessness and time, it was the bliss of formlessness and form, it was all love and the one beloved arms, it was sight and thought in one all-seeing mind. It was joy of being on the peaks of God. She passed beyond time into eternity, slipped out of space and became the infinite. Her being rose into unreachable heights and found no end of its journey in the self. It plunged into the unfathomable deeps and found no end to the silent mystery that held all world within one lonely breast, yet harbored all creation's multitudes. She was all vastness and one measureless point. She was a height beyond heights, a depth beyond depths. She lived in the everlasting and was all that harbors death and bears the wheeling hours.